Another frightening story getting completely ignored by the media, and it's this one. The revelation that the economic collapse in 2008 wasn't just because of Bush's failed policies. What? Or the fact that the housing market collapsed. What again? What's up? After analyzing all of the possible causes, one answer remains the most plausible, believe it or not: economic terrorism. The problem is, this story takes so much time and effort to unpack it, and then we have to explain it. I mean, why don't we just automatically disqualify it from coverage on the traditional media, because they can't do it? What? It's going to take longer than 90 seconds. I mean, forget that. It can't be worth it. We have these stories about the dangers of suntan lotion so we can show that beach bikini B-roll that we have. Oh, people will tune in droves. Our enemies are thinking a little differently. Maybe we should as well. You may look at the financial world just as a way to make money, but that's not how the experts and our enemies look at it. Warren Buffett describes credit derivatives as financial weapons of mass destruction. Of course, he's been screwing his secretary out of her cash by not paying taxes for I don't know how long. Should we listen to him? How about Jim Cramer? He called credit default swaps dastardly devices. George Soros says credit and default and naked unlimited short selling, which is, by the way, is his trademark, weapons used to carry out the bear raid on Lehman Brothers. Yeah. Is that a bad thing? Yeah. It was the initial jolt that triggered the 2008 collapse. Many other experts describe these financial terms in warlike ways, and our enemies are following suit. They know they can't beat us militarily or with sanctions or with threats or embargoes or anything else, so they target our financial system. That's what all the evidence. We have the big book of evidence? We don't, do we? I guess I'm going to have to settle for more popcorn. All the evidence points to in the 2008 economic crash to one thing: jihad with money. Do you remember this clip? When it came out back in January of 2009, shortly after the 2008 collapse, everybody was talking about it for just a second. Watch again.
Here's the facts, and we don't even talk about these things. On Thursday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, the Federal Reserve noticed a tremendous drawdown of money market accounts in the United States to the tune of $550 billion was being drawn out in a matter of an hour or two. The Treasury opened up its window to help. They pumped $105 billion in the system and quickly realized that they could not stem the tide. We were having an electronic run on the banks. They decided to close the operation, close down the money accounts, and announce a guarantee of $250,000 per account so there wouldn't be further panic out there. And that's what actually happened. If they had not done that, their estimation was that by 2 o'clock that afternoon, $5.5 trillion would have been drawn out of the money market system of the United States, would have collapsed the entire economy of the United States, and within 24 hours the world economy would have collapsed. It would have been the end of our economic system and our political system as we know it.
He's behind you! Don't go in there! It's a scary movie, isn't it? It should send a chill down your spine. Boo! But it doesn't, because nobody's really looking into it, you know? Global economy was nearly brought down in less than 1 day. Want the facts? Right here. Right here. America's collapsed in a few hours. On September 15th, the market was in decline, but it was kind of gradual. Dow down to around 11,000. Certainly nothing to cause panic about. No, shouldn't have done that. And then you had that electronic run on the bank, the size of which could have destroyed the entire global economy. And then it got bad. Yeah. About $50 trillion in global wealth. Let me say it again. $50 trillion in global wealth gone. Yeah, but did anybody's heads pop off? Yeah. An anonymous review of NASDAQ, which was examined by several law enforcement agencies, was titled Red Flags of the Market Manipulation Causing a Collapse of the U.S. Economy. Featured page after page after page after page of trading reports strongly indicating acts of financial terrorism taking place, revealing that two mysterious companies suddenly traded in volumes so large that they were the largest traders overnight, and they worked in concert with each other. They worked in concert with each other? Two companies working together. Boom. Buy, sell, buy, sell. Or is it sell and buy? Two of them. Now, who is on the other end of the phone? Two of them talking to each other. Who are they? Well, we have a short list of suspects: Middle Eastern states, Islamic terrorists, hostile members of the Chinese military, government and organized crime groups in Russia, Venezuela, Iran, China, Osama bin Laden. He talks about his main target, the U.S. economy, if I may quote, if their economy is destroyed, they will be so busy with their own affairs rather than enslaving the weak peoples. It is very important to concentrate on hitting the U.S. economy through all possible means. End quote. He bragged that he and his terror group knew of all of the cracks in the American economy, and they were made up of, quote, modern educated youth who are aware of the cracks inside the Western financial system, as they are aware of the lines in their hands, end quote. And although this classified report indicates when the CIA searched bin Laden's materials from his compound, they found a strategy to take down the economy of Europe. Then we have the Chinese book from 1999. It's right there. Well, yeah, see, next one. You read it? Read this one, and it will tell you about this one. Unrestricted Warfare, written by two members of China's PLA, the People's Liberation Army. They say the Chinese military strategy is to take down America, not through direct military action, that's too tough, but through economic terrorism, specifically talking about crashing the U.S. market and the U.S. economy. They explained to achieve such economic destruction, it won't require an entire country, just a few soldiers of tomorrow, like bin Laden, or even better, Mr. George Soros. He's kind of more a soldier of not tomorrow or even today or yesterday, more like about 900 years ago. Soros has notoriously been active and even credited for the bringing down of several entire economies. And number one target on his hit parade now appears to be America. Not my words, his. Quote, the main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States, end quote. So he sees us as an obstacle and an enemy. Now that's not insignificant from Mr. Soros. There's a reason the Prime Minister of Malaysia calls Soros, quote, an unscrupulous profiteer. People in London know him as the man who broke the Bank of England. These aren't empty threats from Mr. George Soros. If he finds a regime to be oppressive, hurting people, he works to destroy it. He is called an economic terrorist. Watch.
When you try to, let's say, improve society, you affect different people and different interests differently, and they are not actually commensurate. So you very often have all kinds of unintended adverse consequences. So I had to experiment, and it was a learning process. The first part was this subversive activity, disrupting repressive regimes. That was a lot of fun, and that's actually what got me hooked on this whole enterprise.
Yeah, what got him hooked on this whole enterprise. We're just doing a little experiments, what? And so in 2008, you had all of these players doing their part, and they nearly collapsed the global economy. They've had 4 years to work on this. It takes a while to collapse the United States economy. In May of 2010, the Dow dropped 900 points in 6 minutes. No explanation. My next guest has been with us a couple of days this week. He says it's a test trial or the beginning of a three-phase plan, a shark bump at best, the end of the three-phase plan at worst. We're living in a country now where the media is completely disengaged from the facts, and there is a very strong chance that foreigners have control of our markets, and nobody is even looking. They're waiting for the right time, and it's coming. But keep in mind, collapsing our financial system is just that, a financial collapse. Our system collapses. That doesn't mean who we are. If we're only about things and stuff and money, well then if we collapse financially, we do cease to be America. I have collapsed financially. I had to sell everything I had to sell my car, but it didn't collapse me. It didn't collapse my family. Our goal should be to not be identified by our financial system. Take away the money, take away the stuff, and we should still all be Americans. But will we? The next hour, I'm going to work with you on Being George Washington, the Being George Washington Challenge. I've worked on this now for several months, and we're ready for you to take the challenge. It's not a contest, it's a challenge. But before we do that, we need to revisit the three phases